Good morning. All right, New York. We brought some Seattle weather. You know, usually you got to go all the way out there to talk clouds, so we thought we'd help you with that. And how do you like our space today? This is kind of the last hipster space we could find before it turned into condos in Chelsea. So if you like the looks of it, you know, we may have them for sale a little bit later. But welcome. I'm your tour guide of the day. And I'm going to kind of set up some kind of what we're going to talk about and why this day is so key. And as we've been looking across the board, that we've been in New York quite a bit. You know, IBM itself is based right up the road, buy local if you're looking at that aspect too. And we've used this to launch a lot of our big key initiatives. And what today is all about is really where we are with our total cloud story and our definition of our hybrid story as well. We feel like we're entering kind of some new phases with regard to cloud. You know, the very first phase was all about cost, you know, infrastructure, getting data capability, you know, renting machines and equipment and capability by the hour. The second phase is kind of where we are today, and it's all about innovation. And innovation is kind of becoming the new currency in this economy. And that's being driven both by the programming community and the speed of which they're able to turn out new applications with the cloud tools that are available to them. And then what we're launching for next is getting up into the true business value side. You'll see we've done a lot of work around our cognitive initiatives, beyond Jeopardy. We're going to let you play against Watson today a little bit to see how smart you are on the trivia side, but really kind of bring in capability to the table to help businesses understand their processes more, let them ingest analytics at a much more rapid pace, and then how our cloud technologies are bringing this all together as well. Wouldn't be New York without sirens, right? As Nancy mentioned, it's not only about innovation, but it's also about disruption. You know, it's remarkable on how many the large New York firms we see out on the West Coast. I think everyone is extremely nervous around what may happen to them. Established businesses being disrupted by four young kids working out of a garage in the San Francisco downtown area. You know, the boundaries to enter our traditional businesses are coming down. The speed in which they have technical capability is increasing, and where your competition comes from next may blindside you. So as a result, I think most firms are now very nervous about how do they change? Who is going to affect that change, and what do they do within their own strategies now to kind of build that environment of innovation? And this has been one of the key drivers around what we've been doing with the cloud and how we've been filling out the portfolios so fast. What we see most firms doing, you know, just to kind of set the landscape, is to talk about what we're doing. It's funny, we still talk to some firms that cloud is still a little bit more of a, you know, amorphous term. You know, it's around virtualization. It's what I do within my own data center as well. We still run into some, you know, some old school accounts. I'll never go to the public cloud, but we really see the market is driving everyone to not only see how do they take advantage of these technologies within their own shop, but how can they now extend their ecosystems out much farther than their own traditional boundaries. You know, what we've seen are both front door and back door needs, being able to reach, you know, new customers, new endpoints, mobile, point of sale, ATMs. Being a digital enterprise, the good news is many of them are now collecting a tremendous amount of data. The bad news is very few of them have determined what to do with it. We're finding ourselves, as IBM becomes more digital, that tying all of this information together from the marketing side, from the usage side to the sales side, all of this, any weak link between that data chain is a weak link in your overall business process as well. On the back end side, we see customers wanting to really digest and ingest much more data than they had before. You see some of the activities we've done with our partnership with Twitter. You see us purchasing the weather company, pulling their data in. Watson itself pulling in data records from almost every public source. And this is going to be a key game changer on how we build applications and how it gives additional insights. already have insurance companies already wanting to surf the social net. Guy's getting a disability check. Let me see if he was out on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. What was he doing last weekend? Does he really deserve that check, or is he pulling a little fraud on me as well? We also see the notion of big data shifting, that now that I have massive amounts of data, how do I fold, bend, spindle, mutilate it so that I can find those correlations that weren't as obvious to me before? And this is also driving my applications, not saying, let me bring my processing down, let me bring the data down to where my applications are, but maybe I start moving my applications to where the data resides. So big change is coming there as well. And then a lot of it is about building communities. We've done a lot of activities on being able to, turn my existing assets in the data center into a composable set of APIs so that we can extend the reach of those more and more. We're in the middle of a second phase of a hackathon, even here with Citi, on where they've taken some of their data sets and opened them up to the startup communities so that they can be kind of the center of innovation for them as well. On the other side, we see many firms thinking, I've got critical IT that I want to turn into commercial APIs myself. Maybe I become more of a software vendor myself and set the stage for the processes that are coming down the road as well. These dynamics are showing up in almost every single account that we're dealing with. And the result is we see the focus on private cloud, continued virtualization of what I have in control and what I have within the bounds of my own data center. And also we see other modes of being able to use the public clouds, being able to use dedicated single-tenant public cloud, and then also being able to fully leverage these much richer services that are emerging to use the full public cloud as a whole. This is what hybrid is becoming. It's becoming more than just what I build myself. It's more than just simply private public. It's the dynamic nature and this API economy that we see shaping up that lets me build the application with the right components at the right place and in the right mix at the right time. What we focus on at IBM is really choice and consistency, supporting all of those models. We're going to show you today, and I really think this is going to be a seminal event, that not only do we talk hybrid cloud, I think a lot of the cloud vendors talk hybrid cloud. We're going to show you live technologies that really harden the definition as to what does that mean. What does it mean that I can more dynamically move workload from deployment model to deployment model? What does it mean that I can start to move from public to private to dedicated as I start to build various pieces of my application together? What does it mean as I take my own components and start to surface and mix those with components from other third parties? All of these are dimensions of hybrid cloud. And not only are we going to show you how we build those with what we've done with Bluemix and our overall story, but also how to do the management of those as well. DevOps productivity is dramatically changing here. How do I not only build, how do I do the deployment, how do I do the management of these applications? I think it's going to become a new science on its own. As many people look at the clouds taking over some of the responsibilities we had in the past on building out, deploying, and running data centers, what does their job now become? Are we entering a phase where our traditional IT roles are now the drivers in a world of driverless cars? So how they manage, how they instrument, how they move between public data centers, how they understand the dynamics, how they do bursting, et cetera, is opening up brand new capabilities and brand new disciplines that they're going to have to learn as well. And then the further we go up the stack, the more accessible, the more powerful, the more everyone on these environments will be using analytics to gain deeper insight into their own business, into their customers, and also into the markets that they're competing in. Our view as a whole, just to give you a quick snapshot here, is to pull that picture off, we think you have to have a great, strong cloud platform, a very, very rich set of services, integration that lets you blend those environments, what I have in the data center, what I have in the dedicated cloud, what I have in the public. How do I do that with confidence? How do I do that with security? How does my CISO sleep at night? What do I do with my existing applications, and how do we harvest the true assets from them to play in this game? And then again, how do I manage the overall environment? What we've done at IBM is really focus hard on building out this complete story. And it's been a very rapid pace over the past couple years, but I think with some of the recent announcements we've had, it's becoming very clear as to how these pieces will come together and hang together. At the very bottom, you know, the whole goal here is to provide a rock-solid hybrid infrastructure. We've done the public cloud with our acquisition of SoftLayer, and I'll show you the data centers we've had there. When we launched our Bluemix, we started public first. This was one of the bigger challenges we had at IBM on how do we play that game, how do we play it at scale, how do we really do it in mass. Right now, just with our Bluemix, we're adding over 15,000 new users every single week. So not only are we playing public, but we're playing it at the rate and pace of everyone else. We also thought it was critical that, you know, how do I do public cloud but keep some of the enterprise attributes around that as well? One of the nice things we liked about our infrastructure was the capability of being able to do a dedicated environment where we can carve off a virtualized space and have it directly focused on a single client. Down to the virtual machines, even all the way down to the bare metal if your auditor wants to see the exact MAC address, where data resides, who touched it, what are the audit logs, etc. And then finally, local. You know, we've been dealing with private cloud for some time at IBM, but you'll see with our local Bluemix, we're truly bringing some of the cloud attributes all the way back behind the firewall as well. And it's not to look at each one of these independently, but I think the real challenge that we've been focused on is how do all three of these environments start to work together, start to work in a seamless environment, base them on the right properties so that I do have flexibility, mobility, and portability across all of them as well. On top of the foundation, we need to be able to support multiple compute models, you know, from virtual machines to container support to cloud foundry models and even beyond, broader foundational services to help you get more cloud capability in your applications as well. We haven't gone religious. We haven't chosen just one. What we see in the compute layer is the need of control versus automation and speed. And we even see the notion of hybrid even falling into this layer where we see many applications now wanting to take full advantage of some of the more sophisticated models with Cloud Foundry, but some aspects of my app need to be under extremely tight managed control, and I need to be able to understand and build those at a lower level as possible. Of course, we've been rolling out a very rich set of services on top that you'll see throughout the day. I think we're up to over 130 that we have running on top of Bluemix today. We've been moving at a rate and pace that even makes my head spin as to how quick we've really had all projects within IBM moving cloud-first services to the cloud. And then also you'll see both with our languages and the tool chains we support with DevOps as open as possible. It's not just a Java game, it's not just a Node.js game, supporting all the major languages and all of the technologies that the cool kids are using. If you look at the base level, of course, you know, we start with the infrastructure layer, providing you compute, storage, networking, you know, very rock solid with what we have with the SoftLayer side, unique on being able to go from bare metal all the way back up to the dedicated environment that I mentioned. Same thing with the storage side, very excited about our CleverSafe announcement, the acquisition of them just a few weeks ago, giving us a brand new world-class top quadrant object storage there as well. And then a robust both network management facility and a private network to help you really manage your data, where it resides, where your app is, without some of the penalties and the overhead and the complications that some of the other cloud vendors bring to the table as well. Our locality is something that also has us standing apart. I was in India just a couple weeks ago where we opened up Chennai, over 42 centers right now around the globe, all connected by dark fiber on the backplane so that as I move data in between the sites, I'm not having to go out to the public internet to do that. We want our cloud centers to be where you do your business, and also to make sure that we take advantage of the security needs, the privacy needs, the regulatory needs that we're going to run into in some of your products, and the complexity of them run into as well. As we really start to harden up this hybrid story that you'll see through the morning, The key goal here is to have all of these environments more tied together, public, dedicated, and local. You'll also see we call the show today Relay. And Relay is one of the very unique technologies that IBM is bringing to the cloud discussion, is how we're making these environments both be connected with each other and also how they use each other to update themselves as well. We're very big on open standards, and we'll talk about that in a second, and you'll see that throughout the day. But we've also noticed that the overhead involved in keeping some of these environments up and going are beyond the skills of some of our clients. They move at a very rapid pace. They're updated on a frequent basis. If I don't stay current, they penalize you in trying to keep up. So one of the things we've done with Relay is allow that our public instances to be our master copies. Any updates, any configuration changes, security patches, updates from the open foundations associated with those, we're able to trickle those down to our dedicated environments and to our local environments as well. So we're taking the load off of the client in both trying to keep a very vibrant open source stack up and running and having us carry that load for them as well. And on the open side, we did want to make sure that we had a full structure based on key open standards. We're putting a lot of effort in on the two you hear the most, of course, will be OpenStack and Cloud Foundry. But across the board, where we see interest, where we see the need, where you've got to have an open community working on this, you see our work with Node.js, you see us working with the Open Container Foundation, you see jQuery on the mobile side. We can't even keep up. We did our announcement on API standards last week with supporting Swagger as well. We're strong believers that communities build better software. We also believe that having multiple vendors participating in that give you a voice and also give you choice. At every layer of our cloud story, we're choosing what we feel is the key standard to base our technologies on. And with that, we're not just giving it lip service, but as you'll hear from Angel later today, is we're making the investment to establish those open standard communities, to help them understand what open governance actually means, and we're putting people on the boards as well to make sure that we're driving these to true mission-critical commercial levels as well. One of the other activities we have that you'll start to see as we move through 2016 is really giving you the base building blocks to re-architect some of your existing applications. I think we see as we look at existing workloads, some are fine. Some have been honed and tuned and audited and put under performance stress for years that they're not going anywhere. I had one client tell me that if something's legacy, it's a success. It's actually been around long enough to be proven. But also I think that many firms are looking at some of their applications that they're wanting them to be refactored. How can we actually start to build a consistent set of frameworks, patterns, APIs that may help us speed our overall development process across the board? To do that, we need to move to much more of a microservices architecture that gives us both the base building blocks to do that re-architecture and also gives us the ability that we can now surface higher level components that can participate in that composition style of development. What you'll start to see coming out, you like my chemistry chart? Yeah, a periodic table is what I call it. I keep getting warned that, be careful. If you mix security proxy with DNS, strange things may happen, but we hope not. But one of the things you'll start seeing showing up in the Bluemix portal itself, are these microservices, are these base building blocks, are these, very common infrastructural type assets that give you the capability that you can really start to rebuild your applications at a fine granular level. You can start to be able to promote those to higher grade services, add them to the catalog as well. So infrastructure, this foundational services level in Bluemix, giving you multiple grades of granularity and multiple grades of reusability across the journey. And then Bluemix itself. you'll see demos this morning that, we've been constantly focused on, releasing new capabilities within the environment, adding some of the really world-class services to it. Our Watson portfolio you will see, our full analytics portfolio you will see, our full middleware portfolio that we've added to it as well, mobile services, Internet of Things services. We've been rapidly really pushing the envelope and also packaging these services so that you have more and more ready-made boilerplates ready for you and your applications. I've had several folks say probably one of the most complete catalog of enterprise-grade services that they've seen, and this really has been a transformational effort within IBM to ensure that all of our projects, as we think of all of the skills within IBM, all of the experience that we've had around middleware over the past decades, are taking those technologies and introducing those as services in the platform as well. And then finally, part of hybrid, I think what most people resonate with is how do I connect the old with the new? How do I do two-speed IT? And again, you'll see throughout the day in the conversations, you'll see a whole set of discussions as really kind of the multiple tiers that we've done that. How do I set up a secure connection from my mainframe to my cloud applications? How can I set that up? How do I surface the APIs? How do I do that in a concise fashion that, again, is safe, it's auditable, it's fine? How can I shape my data? We continue to hear, I'm never going to put my data out on the cloud, so how about tools that lets me take my data, maybe I don't have to take all of the records, but then be able to mix that with some of these open data sets. Let me build a set of data that gives me the right capability that I can work on it with my cloud without jeopardizing private information of my clients. Being able to move data, with the DashDB work, and the DataWorks, being able to move it out closer to your users, being able to intermix it with other data feeds as well. Being able to create your own APIs, being able to take assets that you have, put them directly into the catalog, put it into the hands of your programmers, and have them start to operate with services just like our Bluemix services as well. And then being able to go out and use explore what other services are available, be able to search to see what's out there for you, help you experiment with some middleware that you haven't seen before. All of these start to show how do I bring my existing assets in place with the new assets. Not all of our workloads will be greenfield. I think we'll have our base ones, we'll have those that we refactor, we'll also have our brand new system of engagements with clients, but also this rich set of services will also give you a chance to do a lot of innovation and a lot of exploration that you've never been done before because all this has been pre-deployed, it's right at your fingertips. And the last couple pieces we have here is you'll hear a lot of discussions on the whole notion of orchestration. Once we put these pieces in place, how do I now manage these environments? How do I lay out the middleware that I need on my existing environment? How do I tie that in with the high speed? How do I lay out the infrastructure? Then how do I deploy that application across both speeds? How do I do this at rapid pace? And you'll also see with these technologies, you now start to be able to do things that were only fantasies a couple years ago. Maybe I want one version on the West Coast, one version on the East Coast, so I can really check to see what resonates with my clients much quicker. You've got to have an orchestration base that's really helping you tackle the complexities of this and do it in a much more automated, direct fashion as well. A couple of last pieces we have is we've learned a lot from this journey, and we've learned a lot of the new capabilities that are needed as we take on this journey. And what does a new methodology start to look like as we both build and deploy and manage for the cloud? I've got a huge team of incredible guys who just spend the day on how we do that deployment, how we do those rapid builds, and how we take all these new concepts and truly bring those to life. And we're not able to do it all by ourselves. You'll see, gone are the days where we feel like we have to own every single tool in the chain. As the art evolves with cloud development, new players are popping up right and left. And we've worked very hard to make sure we've got a very dynamic, flexible tool chain to let you bring your tool of choice, but still give you the control over the entire life cycle as well. And we learn by helping you. We've got a couple cool things that we have we'll be talking about a little bit later today. One is our Bluemix Garage. We've done 3 of these today. We're in the midst of opening up 2 more. We have one in San Francisco, we have one in Toronto, we have one in London, where we've been working with accounts to kind of get their first cloud application up and going with our entire stack. You know, we're bringing concepts like design thinking in that evolved from Stanford University. You know, we're bringing in pairs programming to get those minimal viable applications up and going. And then we've also been expanding that with how do you bring this back into an enterprise environment? How do I do the cool stuff in San Francisco but bring it home and help it thrive in a broader audience? You know, we have the capabilities now, and through these workshops, you know, we can actually, you know, help you take a basic idea and get it up and running in production in the cloud, you know, within just 4 to 6 weeks as well. So as you make the journey, it's not just about the technology, it's also about the culture change, and at times planting the seed correctly to get that culture off to the right foot, I feel is critical. And while not everybody can make it out to the garages, one of the other things that we just announced a couple of weeks ago is we've kind of taken all of our learnings and all of our collective knowledge and all of the tools and the tricks and the techniques that we've had and have actually published this out as our Bluemix Garage methodology. So we've got it available to you here on this URL so that you can kind of learn at home, and we'll be adding more instrumentation, sample code, et cetera, right into the stack so that your teams can kind of learn this new style, learn it with hands-on labs, and really learn the concepts as they evolve as well.